Mickey on the track.
Alright, welcome ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with a good friend of mine named Ron Booth. I've been knowing for about 3-4 years, about 5 years, Well, the story is, first of all, I'd like to say that this is an excellent gentleman when it comes to putting combinations together. He's taking some birds and putting some birds together and been able to develop some phenomenal stuff. And it's just an honor for me to know that some of the stuff that he used when he did put it together came from my bloodline. The story is that originally I had sold some birds to Z Fang, a good Asian cat that I met years ago, back in I guess 2009.
2009.
Yeah, and Z had developed some birds that were showing out, and he had crossed them up with some EZR rollers, I think, at the time. Ron was able to get some of those birds, and birds brought a little business, so they became interesting not only to Ron but to a few guys in the area at the time. And Ron was so curious to where that birds really originally came from. And V kept the story a secret for a long time, but he finally did let Ron know, sold Ron a bird that had my band and number on it, and that's how my relationship with Ron began, because Ron immediately called me and told me, hey, I got some of your birds and they smoking. You know what I mean? I like the way they smoke, and I want to know if you have, you know, a few more. And so it kind of happened all like that. And so during the course of those years, I think I can easily say that yes, we've established a relationship. Yes, you know, we've been able to develop birds that are really exceptional, and not only so much for us because we like a big bird, but also on a competition level, because we do also have a mutual friend.
Yes, we do.
Named Stan
Pryor.
Stan Pryor, who just won the AARC fly-off with some of the birds that have the background and the roots from ZLS. Is that right, Ron?
Yeah.
Tell us more about that story.
Well, to reiterate on what you just said about when I got those birds from Z, he was moving out of town, and so he just sold a friend of mine named Sean Jurgensen all his birds, and Sean sold those birds to me. And so when I got the birds, I noticed that it had some ZLS band numbers on some of the birds. And so what I did was call you immediately to get a background, because I would never incorporate a bird inside my breeding program or flying program unless I knew the genetics and the history behind it. So as soon as I got in touch with Oliver Henderson here, he gave me the information that I needed to proceed on with my breeding and flying of these birds that originated from you. And I liked the results. They all balled up, they all brought the fire that I wanted to do. And I'm a deep bird man myself. I'm familiar with the competition people. I'm friends with some of them. But I really kind of like my bird to go a little bit more in depth with their role than what the competition people are doing out there. No disrespect or anything like that, because I do have competition birds. I do have Pigeons and breeding. I do have jackanets, old family and all that. But what stands out the most in my group of birds is the ZLS bloodline that I have running through there. And to give you more information about what I have now through Oliver, like I said, we've been friends and associates and pigeon fanciers and master flyers for the last 5 years. Through our connection, I have bred birds and flown birds that have brought unbelievable numbers in depth and broke. And as we speak right now, I have some that cultivating inside my head.
And I can never forget how excited I was. I think I was even more excited than you were, because when you got I think it was your first, you got about 4 pair. And at the time you had Pigeons, you had Pigeons, you had Meeks, you had jackanets, you had Reeds, you had every bird. And I said, Ron, I talked to you on the phone. I said, Ron. I said, man, I'm excited. He said, what's wrong? I said, look, you got everybody's birds. You breed them all at the same time. You're going to fly all the babies at the same time.
Right.
They're going to tell the story.
That's going to tell the story.
That's going to tell the story.
Story right there.
I'm waiting for that phone call.
Yeah, and I called you every time when it was coming. He showed up at my house, and I flew birds that I got from him, and I flew the other birds. And what stood out the most was the ZLS stuff. And the thing about it is, you can never go wrong with anything that comes from ZLS. And the thing about it is, I'm so thrilled about it. And what I have right now is predominantly ZLS. I have a lot of that going on inside my incorporated.
Yeah.
And they bring in nothing but fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I got that call, I said, what's wrong? Because I heard something in your voice, brother. You said, Alan, you got to come and see this. I said, I'll be right over there. What's going on? I still didn't know.
Wow.
But when I got there, brother, and you put that hen up, and it was a windy day.
It was a windy day. It was a windy day.
And she went
yeah.
way
that was
back.
That was Bling's
granddaughter.
Bling's granddaughter.
She went way to the back.
Oh man.
And she went, and she did not flip right away. She
got her
and I consider that the intelligence of a bird.
Right.
Because she was in an unfamiliar area, but when she came back over the house, brother.
That's when she brought it. She brought 250 feet that day.
250.
Yeah, and the thing about it, I got her mama and some of her siblings stocked and not ready to fly, but I'm not flying them right now. And they all have that same genetic as her mother and her grandmother and all the way up to Bling family.
Right on.
That's one of my best families that I have.
Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you, man. And man, and it's been an honor to know you, brother.
It's been an honor too.
Man,
More than a pleasure. Yeah.
Right on.
We got to keep the spin going.
Keep the spin going. Deepspinalife.ning.com. Come and join us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Trace music.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce a good friend of mine. His name is Mark Meadows. He was also a writer for the NBRC and the, who else?
IRA.
And the IRA.
And the Utah Roller Club.
The Utah Roller Club. He started writing articles for the magazine in
I was about 29 to 30 years old, and now I'm 53 years old, and I wrote about, I would say about 11 articles in total. I wrote about color, I wrote about depth, I wrote a lot of things, a lot of different things that some of the other guys weren't doing. Some of the other guys were just into hard colors, red checkers, blue checkers, and they were kind of like real kind of biased on their colors. So I believe that all colors can roll if they're bred properly, genetically, and selected properly. So that's why I wrote my articles. And I always had a love and passion for the Birmingham roller, and also the later on I started to study the roller more. And excuse me.
And Mark, tell us, you also did a lot of genetic research as well. Is that right?
Yeah, it's basic genetics. I just wanted to find out, for instance, about opal, dominant opal. Now, dominant opal modifies the color. I found out that a lot of these are modifiers, and there's only 3 true colors. And the 3 colors are ash, red, which is ash like amber, which are usually red checkers, red bars, and then also blue is a true color, and brown, which is more rare, but now you can find it in rollers. So anyway, I just was very interested in the modifiers, the modification of the colors of the rollers, and I also like the gene reduced. And I've seen rollers. My friend Brian Van Buskirk had about more than 42 colors of rollers, but of course there's modification there because there's only 3 true colors in rollers. But Brian would probably tell you something different.
And Mark, you were a young man during the times back in the early 60s, but you also were familiar with some of the legendary guys, some of the iconic guys. One of the guys that I interviewed, which was Mr. Pelletier, but you also knew Walt Faria.
Yeah.
You also knew, and some of the other guys. Tell us about them, and tell us about what you...
Well, you know, back in the day, I knew a man named Conrad Meese. Conrad Meese used to judge a lot of the pigeon shows, and he also kept some rollers, just a few rollers around. So Conrad Meese introduced me to Joe Pelletier, and Joe Pelletier at the time was breeding his rare color rollers that Walt Faria and him were both working on and selecting together. Walt's the one that actually created the rollers. He actually is the one that put the colors on and modified the colors, worked with them, and Joe and Walt together did it. And it took years and years to modify those birds and to get those perfect balanced colors on there. And there's still some around the Bay Area and some around the United States, but only certain people have them to the level that Walt Faria had them and Joe Pelletier had them.
I got them.
And Oliver's one of the guys that does have them. And the good thing about Oliver is, I'll talk some more about me in a minute, but the good thing about Oliver is he still keeps bell necks. He has bell necks, he has saddles. He has a lot of the older style markings that you don't see as much today due to competition. But competition, some guys are still holding on to some of those markings in competition, but Oliver's got more of them and he's got them in good, better color. I don't want to say better because, you know, to upset anybody, but he's got them in fine color. So Oliver's doing a good job with what he's doing. And I've been to his house a couple times, and I like what I seen over there. He has his birds kick tight, and Oliver's going for the deeper roller, the very deep roller. There's such thing as the competition deep, which is 30 feet to 40 feet, and some will hit even 50 feet. Then there's the smooth roller or the long roller that Bill Pinson described, and the smooth roller could roll up to 100 feet. With a nice, smooth, even, straight roll. And then there's also some birds like Oliver raises that go way beyond. And Oliver has his own style of roller that he loves and enjoys. And they do the same thing in South Africa as Oliver does over here.
Well, Mark,
yes.
You know, I so want to get more of you on film. But for this particular video right here, wow, you've already stimulated us to a big degree. I'm gonna try and get more of you for the public coming in the future. But right now, my man, I just wanna also let everybody know that I really appreciate you and for all the information that you share with me. I can always bounce things against you that I'm working on, and it's just a pleasure to meet you, my brother. And I wanna thank you so much, all right?
You're welcome.
Mickey on the track.